Well, it's a big sunny, warm welcome here to Saint-Jean-d'Angely here in France, and there we are, the southwest region, the Cognac region of France. What a beautiful area it is as well. Here's the circuit of Puy de Poussey, length 1,955 metres. Let's join the Italian team, the reigning national champions, as they take us for a tour around. Well, indeed, it is a glorious day here at Saint-Jean-d'Angely, and of course the French flags were out in style. The English team of Carl Nunn, Paul Cooper, and of course James Dobb. Dobb on a 500. How did he fancy his chances?
It's difficult I've been thrown in at the deep end, but hopefully I don't want to let the country down. It means a lot to me, so I'm going to keep fighting and I'm going to do the best I can.
You know, I've been off for a while with a dislocated elbow, but this is sort of my 5th race back, so I've been riding over a month now, so I should hope I'm up to scratch now.
I was really pleased to be on the team this year. I've been wanting to be on for the last few years, obviously. But so yeah, I'm really happy and hopefully put in a good performance.
What do you think of the track here?
It's not the best track for me, but I mean it's the same for everybody. You know, I think it's going to be quite rough. It's going to be quite technical because a lot of the ground's moved and it's quite stony underneath. So I mean it should be good for a thinking rider.
Strong favourites for this year. Did GP regular Ryan Hughes rate his team's chances?
I think they're good. You know, we have Ricky who won the 250 championship, Travis who won the 125, and myself. I have a lot of experience over here. I know the track. I raced it last year, and so you know today proved that all three of us are strong. So I think we have the, you know, if not the best chance to win.
First trip actually riding in Europe, so it's quite an experience. I mean, the whole thing, even from the Fuji to come out here with the crowds with the air horns, it's a different experience, but I'm glad to be here for the country.
I'm excited to race. You know, I want to win really bad, and I know Rhino does, the whole team does, and we're going to give it 110% and try to stay on 2 wheels. I think if we can stay up, we should be the winners.
For the reigning nation champions from Italy, could they retain the title?
It's difficult, I don't know now. We have to try, and tomorrow night we can see.
But for winner, it's very difficult because yes, it stay many good teams like France, Belgium, USA. But I don't know. We try.
Well, the Italians hosting next year's donation. Of course, they'd like to win again here today. Now they have to qualify first. Top 14 teams go through from the 3 qualifying heats. Then it's 3 teams from the last chance qualifier. Here's the action, some of the action from the 125 qualification. And boy, was this hot. The Americans, of course, out of the top 3 last year, they had to qualify. And their number 1 rider on the 125, Travis Pastrana, was out there in front. Langston was the man behind him on the 67 bike, making sure the American wasn't going to have this all his own way. But Langston, very strong, the newly crowned 125 world champion, was in hot pursuit of the American 125 champion. These two would be knocking bars together next year, and Pastrana in trouble occasionally, and very lucky to get away with this mistake, as he commented afterwards. But Langston, of course, seeing the American under pressure, decided it was time to apply a little bit more. And these two in front of this massive French crowd were going at it neck and neck, corner to corner, and elbow to elbow at times. But the American was not to be fazed. Probably just showing the South African what was in store for him next year when he came to the States to race. Now remember, the winning rider of each heat gets 1 point. The rider in second place gets 2 points. Of course, the lowest number of points scored by all the teams helped to qualify them through to the Nations Cup race on the Sunday. But the American had decided that the South African needed teaching a lesson. He went out in front, but Langston was having none of it. He came right back at him, but at the finish, it was the American Travis Pastrana who took the win and the 1 point. South Africa had 2. Now the 250 qualification. We were in for another barnstormer here as they headed down into that first corner. For America, it was on the Kawasaki, Ricky Carmichael, another US champion, the 250 champion for this year. Alongside Ricky, well, it was a whole host of regulars, and none other than Britain's Paul Cooper on the number 14 Husqvarna had decided to stamp his mark on this race. 1 point again for the winner, 2 points for second, and right down to last place, Carmichael, the American, was ensuring that his team was going to score the lowest with a little bit of shoulder pushing. Well, Cooper stayed there in second place. Let's have a look at it again. Carmichael showing Paul Cooper exactly what goes on in America when you want to win races. I did say this was a contact sport. Number 80 here, Gordon Crockard, another Grand Prix regular, was beginning to make up ground for the Irish team. Cooper was beginning to drop back. South African Greg Albertine on the 250 was beginning to challenge Cooper and soon went through to reduce his team's deficit. Remember, Langston had finished second in race 1 in the 125s, so he had 2 points. Albertine wanted to keep that restricted down to about 5 or 6. Ricky Carmichael, twice with the losing American team over the last 2 years, was making sure that this time he was going to get it dead right. He took the checkered flag and just the 1 point, so that was 2 for the Americans. 68 here, Greg Albertine. He came home in second place, so that was only 4 points for the South Africans. Now we moved on to the open class. This is a mixture of 250cc bikes and 500s and 4-strokes. And as you can see, as they got off the start, some of them didn't quite make it too cleanly. But again, this was to prove to be a very hectic qualifying race, because the man to look out for was American number 12. That was Ryan Hughes. Hughes, a regular Grand Prix contender and a man that knew this track well. But the man in front of him, number 90, was Peter Johansson, the Swede. Darcy Lang there, the Canadian, out of the race. That wouldn't be a good start for his country. But Hughes trying to keep the American flag flying. Remember, the 2 Americans had won the 2 previous races. He was ensuring that they were going to go into tomorrow with just 3 points on their scorecard. The battles were on much further down the field between other countries. 33 there, Miska Ultanen chasing 75. Well, that of course was Darrell King, but James Dobb on that 4-stroke number 15, riding for the British team, was going great guns. And remember, Dobb finished second in the World 125 Series this year, so jumping onto a big 4-stroke 500 was completely a new experience, but that wasn't stopping the man. But neither was it stopping these 2 out in front, because Peter Johansson there on the 90 bike wasn't letting the American Ryan Hughes get away from him. The Japanese rider was back in 3rd place. A great Japanese team over this year, but Hughes was in great form. Riding in the 250 Honda, he was on his way to keep his point score down to a minimum and keep America's just down to 3. They were surely a place for tomorrow in the Nations Cup. And in second spot, 90 Peter Johansson for Sweden. They were on course also to be on the grid for tomorrow. But after all the qualification was over, it was time to keep the crowd happy with some freestyle.
What's happening, everybody?
That wasn't the only high-flying entertainment the French club had lined up. We also had the lovely pom-pom girls. And in case you're wondering, no, I didn't get any phone numbers of the pom-pom girls, much as I tried. Well, after all the race action for today was over, it was time to chill out as the sun went down here at Saint-Jean d'Angely. Well, you can see, time to get a bit of tucker, get something down inside you before you start to drink, and they did a lot of that here tonight. And in case you don't understand French, they're saying in come on the Americans. This is it for the Brits, the last chance to make sure they get into this afternoon's Motocross to Nation 3 races. All 3 riders in this last chance qualifier. Dobb, none on the 125, and of course Paul Cooper on the 250, Dobb on that 500. 2 teams have been sent home. They didn't score, well, they scored too many points, we should say, yesterday in qualifying to even make it this far, but there's a few on the floor already. Can't see who they are, but Dobb, it looks like, on the 15 bike that has got out in front. Yes, indeed. Dobb leads. Cooper's third. Tremendous result for the British team so far. Dobb very unhappy with yesterday. He said himself that he felt that he'd let the country down, but they're certainly making amends for it now. There's Paul Cooper on the 14 bike. So Great Britain at the moment, 3 points. Portugal, Switzerland also there as well in third, so they are. Norway, Slovenia and Estonia, top 6 at the moment. Remember, 3 teams go through to join the other 17 for this afternoon's 3 donation races. And Cooper's got a problem. Cooper's got a problem. That could be a fuel problem of some kind. Dobb is still out there in front on the big 500 KTM 4-stroke. Considering this man normally rides 125 bikes, this is a tremendous leap from one category to another. But there is Carl Nunn, number 13. Cooper got going again. Thankfully, Cooper got going again. So there you are. Cooper finished third. Dobb finished on top of the podium. Well, the British team are through to this afternoon's races.
Difficult weekend for you because yesterday you didn't qualify straight for the main Motocross Nation. So it means you have one more race than the other guys.
Yeah, I've had a cold for a week or so now, and it's just I'm really tired with that also. So that 500 beat the hell out of me, but I just had to keep pushing. I mean, I even though it was bad luck, I felt we let the English people down yesterday, and they're fantastic supporters. So I just had to keep pushing.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Well, the girls are back. Someone pass me a paper and pencil, please. I'd just like to get their phone number. My God, these were lovely ladies. They really did have the crowd on their feet. Well, Luigi Seeged out, sharing the 4+4 with another bunch of lovely young ladies. As we wait for the first race to come down to the line, 125 and open class. There are Traversini, Bartolini, Roncada, Bolle, Cap, Smets and Pastrana. Top 7 then going down onto the line, followed by Hughes, Langston, Ryan Hunt, Javella, Johansson, Dorsch and Eckenbach, top 14. As we look further down the list, the New Zealanders there, King and Brian. Adam Lyons at the bottom of that group. Trevor Cubitt also for Ireland there as well. Altonen, Vevelanum from Finland. Matt Klinger, of course, for Austria, 28. And well, there's Carl Nunn, 35th place on the grid on the 125. And he'll be joined, of course, by the man on the 500. That will be the KTM 4-stroke, James Dobb. There is Dobb, 36th pick of the gate. So as we wait for the gate to drop then on heat 1 of this 2000 Motocross to Nations, remember 125cc versus the open class. This is made up of 500s and 250s, 4-strokes of course, 520s, Yamaha's 426s. So here we go. 1 point for the win, 2 points for second, and so on and so on and so on. It's the lowest point scorers that go through as the nation's leaders as they get into that first corner. This is hectic. The dust will settle, no doubt. Let's hope everybody stayed on that. Looks like Bartolini, the Italian, that has got the whole shot. Remember, the Italians are the holders of the Nations Cup, and they host next year's Nations Series. Oh, the American Pastrana on the floor. The 125 rider is on the floor. This is not good. Oh, we've got another problem here. They're all falling over each other. Roncada there, number 4. On the 125 caught up, and Dobb having a tremendous ride. Dobb on the 500, the big 4-stroke KTM, and also number 30, that's the British rider Carl Nunn, leaping over the fence. I don't know if he managed to get over that side of it. He's got his bike. Somebody else is wandering around with looks like an injured arm. I think that may be one of his bikes left lying on the floor. But it's Johansson, Dobb, Bartolini, Garcia, Eckenbach, and Hughes is in 6th place. So America have got one rider in the top 6, and Pastrana way down at the back. So, here comes Dobb. Dobb's having a look. Dobb's having a look. He's going through. Showing no mercy to the 500 regular. Penny Johansson, who was second in the world last year, has dropped to third for next year. Oh, and look at Hughes. Oh, so lucky to save that. Well, we saw Pastrana do the same on the 125. These Americans have come here, I think, blessed today. But Great Britain having to qualify in the last chance race. And oh, look at this. This is Bolle. Bolle on the 500. Well, he's on the 250 Honda, but right in the open class, he's out. You saw the blood on his jersey. I think he's had a rock in the face. But just look at James Dobb. Johansson behind him. James Dobb. Remember, we keep saying it. He normally rides 125s. He's jumped onto this big four-stroke. And it's going great guns. And Hughes is up to third. Bartolini to fourth. Garcia is in fifth place. Oh, Eckenbach still down there in sixth. So England at the moment on 1 point. Sweden on 2, America on 3, and Dobb riding. And let's have a look at this now. We've got a pass on here because that was Hughes on Bartolini. Oh, and out goes Smets. Smets in trouble. The Belgium, he's got all sorts of problems this weekend. He injured his arm last week in the last Grand Prix in Switzerland. He's had all sorts of infection problems all week. Here's Langston, 67 for South Africa. His teammate Ryan Hunt on the 69 bike somewhere around the track at the moment. Well, Langston, of course, the World 125 champion. Here's Pascal to talk to Joel Smets.
Joel, we can imagine that it's terrible for you to stop in this first race.
I don't know what to say. I feel so bad. And I just realized I wasn't ready. I just wasn't ready for this race. That week has been so difficult for me. I've taken so many medicaments and stuff and to get ready for this race, but physically maybe I could have done it, but mentally I was completely because I knew it was gonna be hard and shit. This is one of the worst experiences of my career.
So cruel luck then for the world #1 500 rider Joel Smets from Belgium. No chance of Belgium taking the Motocross of Nations. However, we've got a right titanic scrap going on here. Number 4, Stefan Roncada there. And also number 10, the American, Travis Pastrana. There's your top 6 as we see them at the moment. Dobb, Johansson, Hughes, Bartolini, Garcia and Langston. So Ryan Hughes for the American. There's his teammate Pastrana, number 10, who you remember took a bit of a tumble at the start of this race. Has a lot to do, but the American keeping his head down. 33 on the 500 that leads that group. That's Miska Aaltonen, the Finnish rider. Miska on the Husqvarna. So the scraps are on right down through the field. Remember, 2 riders in each class. This is the Open and the 125 class. And remember now, in the Open class, they can ride either a 250 or up to a 500cc machine. And some of these 4-strokes are a little over 500, but that's why they call it an Open class. So a great battle going on here. As we look back to the front, there's the Brit, James Dobb. Remember, Dobb, a 125 rider, finished second in the world class behind Grant Langston, also on a KTM. So Dobb on the 500 4-stroke KTM here. Hasn't ridden this bike too much, so he's having an absolute astounding performance. So there he is, the young man from Derbyshire in England, James Dobb, the British 125 champion, defending that title at the moment against the American Mike Brown in the UK. So Dobb having an inspire ride here on this 520cc 4-stroke KTM. Maybe we're looking at James Dobb of the future. Maybe we'll see him move up to the Open class. He's been on 125s, he's ridden 250s, but never really got his teeth into the big bikes. But he's showing great here at the moment. So Dobb then, Peter Johansson for Sweden, back in second place on the number 90 bike. Johansson also, of course, on the KTM. Teammate to Joel Smets, and we've seen Smets go out of this one carrying that injury that he picked up, and he said himself it's one of the worst days he's ever had. After all, these lads are representing their countries at this Motocross des Nations. So Dobb well out in the lead at the moment. Now Ryan Hughes apparently looking a little bit further down the field. We haven't seen, no, there he is. We just pick him up just as we say so. Hughes is beginning to close. Hughes is mounting a bit of a A late charge, 3 there behind him, Bartolini. Andre Bartolini, the man who lost the #1 plate this year to the Belgian Joel Smets in the open class. So there you go, Hughes up to second, Bartolini to third, Johansson down to fourth, Garcia first of the 1-2-5s is Langston, Reed, Macklinger, Alton, Roncada, Pastrana and Traversini, the Italian. So a really good scrap going on there between the 1-2-5 boys. So remember, the man that crosses the line first scores just 1 point. The man that comes home second scores 2 points. So the lowest amount of points scored by the 2 riders in the race. Hughes it is then, the American. Still with the Italian Bartolini right there behind him. So you've got the Honda, the 250 Honda of Ryan Hughes, along with the 426cc 4-stroke Yamaha of Bartolini. Look at Pastrana, now that's Hughes' teammate. He's down in 11th on the 1-2-5. Hughes is second, so that's 13 points they'll score collectively between them. So America last won this championship back, I think, about 96, about 4 years ago. Prior to that, they dominated this Motocross of Nations for many years until they were beaten by England. So making a bit of a comeback, the Americans. Hughes it is, the man that spent most of this year sidelined with a wrist injury, rides for the Pamo Honda squad in the 250 category. So Dob Hughes, 6 seconds behind Dob at the moment. Bartolini, Johansson, Garcia and Langston, 40 seconds behind the leader. Langston was from South Africa, the first of the 1-2-5 riders. So on to the last lap, and it's still the Brit, James Dob. He's set this arena alight with this storming performance. Great Britain only just making it through by winning the repechage race. Dobbs said that he was very disappointed, they felt they'd let the country down, but he's certainly making amends for it now. Here he is, and Hughes is beginning to close. Only 4 seconds, under 5 seconds, 4 seconds, 0.9 behind. So Hughes on an absolute stormer. I'm wondering whether Dobb has got a problem with the bike or whether he's just beginning to tire. And there is Hughes now, right behind the Englishman as they come up towards the finishing line. It's going to be Dobb, and Dobbs pulling up. Dobbs pulled up. I think the bike has quit. Well, what cruel luck for James Dobb. He'd led that race right up to the last corner of the last lap, and the bike, I think it stopped. But there's the winner, the American Ryan Hughes. Let's have a look at it now. Dobb goes wide. I think the bike stopped. I think it may have seized it. It could not have run out of fuel. It's definitely some sort of electrical or mechanical problem. But Hughes is celebrating. So he should. Dobb, well, upset. Here's Pascal talking to race 1 winner.
Ryan, before the race, maybe many people were thinking that you were the worst, not the best rider for the team US, but you proved that you can win this race. It's a great race.
Yeah, you know I can. I perform under pressure, and I have a lot of pressure today. But I just tried to ride real smooth and fast, and everything came together. So I'm very happy.
What about this race? You were thinking it was possible to win till the last moment?
I didn't know. I thought Dobb was pretty far away, and then the last 2 laps I closed up. I said, oh shoot, maybe I can catch him and beat him, but I was just trying to ride a smooth, consistent race.
Well, smooth and consistent, certainly what he rode. So the USA 11 points then, and Italy, Great Britain, Australia, Germany, Spain and South Africa at the moment making up the top 7. Look at the points difference between 4th and 7th, just a couple. So all to race for in the next race. Finland then and Japan there, 9th, Czech Republic, Austria, Portugal, Denmark and Latvia. And you'll notice they've spelt it Japan. I'm sure our graphics man here today is having a bit of a celebration. Croatia, Ireland, Sweden, France, Belgium and New Zealand, 20th place. France, the host nation, not having the best of the nations at the moment. So there's the start list. Traversini, Federici, Roncada, Tortelli, Caps, Bavorts and of course Pastrana. Carmichael then, Ricky Carmichael, Grant Langston, Albertine, Javela, Carlson, Dorsch and Jasinski. And well, the 2 Japanese riders there. Shane King, back from America, Josh Coppins, and the Australian there, Andrew McFarlane. Crockard for Ireland, looking further down, Vevelainen, Kovalainen. So they've all got it to ride for. Carl Nunn, on the 125. He's got to go out and do it again. He had a terrible first race. We'll dearly like to put that right in race 2. Cooper there on the 250, number 14. So, as we wait for the riders to get off the gate then for Heat 2 of this 2000 Donations. Remember, 1 point for the win, 2 points for second. At the moment, the Americans are leading. They've won this Donations 13 times, consecutive times, starting in 1981 in Germany. They were beaten for the first time, well, when was it now? I think back now, 1994, and it was by the British team. Consisted of Kurt Nickel and Rob Herring and of course Paul Malin, but here they come, and it's the American that's got the whole shot. Number 11, Ricky Carmichael on the Kawasaki, has stormed away in the front. What can the rest do? That's the question we have to ask ourselves. It's Carmichael then. He has been on the losing side twice already for America. I think he's come here this year with only one thing on his mind, and that's to go home a winner. And at the moment, the Americans are out in front as far as points. And in this race is concerned, they're also out in front. Now, Cooper, I think, is back there in about third. Oh, we've got another problem here for some other riders. Let's have another look at that start again. There is Carmichael on the 250, leading all over number 2. Claudio Federici, the Italian, and Carmichael. And look at Cooper. Number 14 around the outside with Carmichael. And number 8, well, that's Monique Bevort's riding a 250 for Belgium. Now, you know Bevort's second in the World 500cc Motocross Championship for this year on a 250. He scored many second places. Oh, he was almost off then. So Bevort's pushing it to the limit, trying to catch the American. Carmichael looks over his shoulder. There's the Italian, Claudio Federici. The current holders of the Nations Cup. They're still in with a chance, so Carmichael, Monique Bevort's for Belgium. Third place, oh, it's Tortelli for France. Sebastian Tortelli, the former 125 and 250 world champion. Somebody's on the floor, and I think that's Joachim Karlsson, the Swede. It is indeed Karlsson. Well, let's hope he gets up again. Yeah, confirmed they're 89. So Karlsson not having the best of the nation. Bevort's, Tortelli closing in on him. Sebastian Tortelli, remember, Frederic Bollet, the world 250 champion for France, has gone out in race 1 with a broken nose, incidentally. He got a rock in his face, it's broken his nose. He may come out in the last race. Let's hope he does. He is riding in the open class. The Tortelli and Bollet swap places. Tortelli was intending to ride the open class. Bollet decided to change, and that's Josh Coppins. Joshua Coppins for New Zealand, number 74, on the floor. Coppins, remember, finishing 4th in this year's 250 World Series. Had a big crash last week in Switzerland, was very lucky to get away from it. Let's have a look at it again. Gets around, bike gets away from him, goes, the front wheel goes over the berm, tosses him off, but that was a lot less of a crash than he had last week in Switzerland. Believe you me, that looked like Cooper just going past him. Here's Carmichael, the American, keeping their points deficit down to 1. It's just a question of what the 125 rider, Travis Pastrana, can do. Here's Pascal with Frederic Bollet's osteopath. Tell us about the injury.
Jean-Fred was retiring in the first race. What happened?
He received a big stone in the nose, and it's broken. And I fixed the nose, and now he's resting, and I think he will start for the third moto.
You think it's possible to do one race with a broken nose?
In Motocross des Nations, it's possible, yes. Yes, because the motivation is really, really good.
So there's the standings at the moment. The USA 23 points, Italy, Japan, or we should say Japan, Great Britain dropping to 4th, South Africa and Finland, France, a lot to do, and this man is doing a lot for them. Sebastian Tortelli, the crowd are going wild. Bollet will be out to race in the third and final encounter, despite that broken nose. So number 4 here, Stefan Roncada, the second of the French riders, trying desperately to claw back an advantage. He's right behind the Japanese rider Narita at the moment. I should imagine he'll pass him. Japan have fielded quite a good squad this year, despite the fact that none of them actually speak any English. So Carmichael, Tortelli, Bevort's, Cooper is fourth. Frederici and Coppins, those are the top 6 at the moment. So the Japanese rider about to get the treatment from the man behind. Here it comes. Roncada goes through. Crockard for Ireland is in 8th place. Albertine for South Africa in 11th. So Roncada moves up one. The Japanese rider Narita drops down one. But you have to be fair, Japan isn't a particular nation that you would expect to field world-class motocross riders, but they are getting stronger. And there's no doubt we'll see some Japanese riders in world motocross before much longer. Number 4 then. Stefan Roncada for France, the hosting nation here at Saint-Jean-d'Angely, just up from Bordeaux. You couldn't want for better conditions. The weather is superb. The crowd, well, what can you expect? Very partisan crowd, naturally for their own homegrown riders. Roncada being one of them. Our Japanese friend here, number 20, enjoying his ride. No doubt enjoying the experience of coming over here to race at such a prestigious event. Incidentally, none of the Japanese riders speak a word of English, so I'm just as well they don't win any races. So 28 then, the Japanese man going through, enjoying his race. Roncada out in front of him, looking further up the field to see where everybody has gone. These are the 125s and the 250s. There's your race leader, Ricky Carmichael, the American. The 250 American champion from this year. Carmichael, twice before on the losing team here at the Donations with the Americans. This time, possibly he'll be on the winning side. Things are looking good. 11 points from first race. This will make 12 points with his tally. It's just a question as to where his teammate will finish. And that, of course, is the unfortunate youngster, number 10, Travis Pastrana. Pastrana a little further down the field. To Carmichael, Sebastian Tortelli, Monique Bevutz, Paul Cooper from Great Britain, Claudio Federici, the Italian, Josh Coppins, the New Zealander, Usata, 29, the Japanese, Gordon Crockard from Ireland, Stefan Roncada. There's Albertine, down in 11th place, Greg Albertine on the 250. So you've got Albertine from South Africa, you've got Langston from South Africa, and Ryan Hunt drafted in at the last moment to represent his country. But here's Ricky Carmichael, showing that dogged determination that the Americans always show. Pastrana, 16th place. You'll be looking at 17 points to go with their 11 points from the first race. Remember, both riders scoring points respective to their position, and the lowest amount of points scored after 2 races will give you some idea of which nation has the best chance of taking this year's Motocross Nations crown. So Pastrana needs to do a little bit more, and there he is, Travis Pastrana on the 125 Suzuki, trying his hardest. 16th place for him, needs to move up a little bit. Americans in a strong position, even though Great Britain only scored they scored 2 points with James Dobb in the first race. Carl Nunn, their 125 rider, had a bit of a disastrous day. Had a big crash in the opening part of that first race, so Great Britain not in a strong position at the moment. There they are, down in 4th place with 48 points. America then lead, 28, Italy, Japan, Great Britain, South Africa and Finland. They're the top 6 here at the moment, depending on how things change at the end of this race. But that's Travis Pastrana, the American, on the 125, showing that, as always, the American's determined not to be beaten, but he's got a lot to do. But they're still in a very strong position. So as Pastrana keeps on chipping away at the men in front, 16th place, remember. Carmichael then, Tortelli, Bavort, Cooper, Federici and Coppins. No change in the top 6 after 11 laps. Ricky Carmichael with the Frenchman, Sebastian Tortelli, the former 125 and 250 world champion. Been racing in America now for the last 3 years, Tortelli. So he knows what it's all about when it comes to racing shoulder to shoulder with these American lads. So here is that number 8 machine there of Monique Bavort. Remember, Bavort has ridden 4 strokes for most of this year. Quite an accomplished 250 rider in his own time, but changed over to 4 strokes for this year and has done extremely well. Has finished second in the world standings, changing on to a 250 here for his country Belgium, and not doing so bad at the moment. He's down in 3rd place. Patrick Caps then for Belgium, the 125 representative, down in 13th. So Caps with a lot to do to narrow that gap between himself and the men in front. So as Monique Pavort comes round, and we see the Belgian flag there from one of his home fans, waved quite closely under his nose. That will no doubt inspire him to go a little bit quicker, but Monique Pavort spent some years riding Suzuki's. That looks like Grant Langston just coming up the hill. That's it is Langston, number 67. I thought I caught a glimpse of the colours of the South African shirt. So Langston not having the best of outings, around 11th at the moment, and his teammate Greg Albertine not too far in front of him, around about 10th. So South Africa came here with high hopes. There you are, 10th and 11th, that's confirmed. So that's 21 points then. So Langston, the new, or we should say the newly crowned 125 world champion, going to race in the States next year. So it'll be interesting to see how he fares against the Americans. He's already showed his ability to clash handlebars here at this Donations. So he's a bit of a tenacious young man. He won't be intimidated easily. So Langston it is, flying the flag for South Africa. His teammate Greg Albertine, another former 125 and 250 world motocross champion. There is Albertine, 68, on the Suzuki. This is his last year, this is his last Motocross Donations. Albie has decided to retire after this. He's had quite an illustrious career and has decided it's time to maybe settle down and enjoy life from outside the racing scene. And you can't argue with that. So Albertine, a legend, probably has to be the best motocross rider ever to come out of South Africa. Every young South African rider will certainly look at Albertine and set their sights on being as good as this man, if not better. And certainly Langston, the man behind him on the 125, has a chance of doing just that. We thought he would stay to move into the 250 class for next year, but no, he's decided to go to America. That's where the bucks are. That's where the money is. That's where Albie went. Won himself a Supercross or 2 over there. Stefan Roncada then, Frenchman, 9th place. Albertine 6 seconds behind him. So I don't think there's going to be a change there before that checkered flag swings. So Albie, 125 champion, 250 world champion. The man has done it all, but he hasn't ever won an open class crown. Only 2 people have ever done that. One person, to my mind, has ever done that before, and that was, of course, the legendary Eric Gabors. Carmichael, Totali, Pavort, Cooper, Federici Coppins, Usuta, Krokard, Roncada, Albertine, Langston. The board is out, 2 laps to go. So if there's going to be any changes, they have to come now. Carmichael then leads it for America. At the end of this race, if Carmichael stays untroubled in the lead, the USA, remember they have 28 points coming out of this race. If things stay as they are, those will be your top 6. Great Britain has moved up to 3rd place, 48 points. So a chance for the Brits to finish maybe 2nd or 3rd on the rostrum at the end of the 3rd race. We'll wait and see. The 125s and 250 race yet to come. That's the 3rd race. That's the decider. But at the moment, the Americans, unless they have an absolute disaster in that last race, are looking on course to retain and regain this Motocross Donations Cup, World Cup of Motocross. So there's Carmichael. He leads at the moment. Tortelli is the man still behind him, the Frenchman. Well, France had high hopes of lifting this championship here, this title we should say, because that's what it is, it's a one-day title. They had a strong crew. Tortelli, former 125, 250 world champion. Frederic Bollet retained his 250 world championship this year. Stefan Roncada, also back over from America. All high hopes were for France, but it all went sadly down the drain when Bollet collected a stone right in his nose in race 1. That's effectively putting him out. but I do believe he's going to go out in the last race of the day. So Carmichael will also be out in that last race of the day. Here he is, number 11. American looks over his shoulder. He knows he's done enough. The American squad, managed by the legendary Roger DeCosta, so we'll be looking to take that third race of the day in style. There is the number 5 bike of Tortelli. France finished second.
Ricky, you did a very great race, maybe one of the best you did this season, no?
Yeah, it felt good. I got a hole shot, and on this kind of track, a hole shot is very important because it's hard to pass. And I rode a good race. Sebastian was riding very good. He was staying pretty close. He was riding very hard and making me ride hard. So it was a good race, just like at the States. It's me and him all the time. It's moto.
So Ricky Carmichael there with Pascal. So there you are, 27 points. Pastrana moved up one in the closing stages. Italy, Great Britain, top 3, South Africa, Japan, Finland, and the Czech Republic, 7th place. Well, a chance for him yet. So the crowd, you could see, and there must have been 50 or 60,000 people here. What an atmosphere. What a Motocross of Nations it was here at St. John d'Angelo. USA, 27 points. Italy, Great Britain, and South Africa. Japan and Finland in the top 6. Well, it's really a battle about second and third, I think, at the moment. Claudio Federici for the Italians, Bartolini for the Italians, Tortelli, Bolle is out for the French, Bevorts and Smets for Belgium. Hughes is out there for America. Of course, the number 11 machine of Ricky Carmichael, the winner of the previous race, is out there as well. Coppins, King and McFarlane out there for New Zealand and Australia. Crockard for Ireland. It really is a star-studded cast here at the Motocross of Nations. The best riders from each nation from around the world gather here for this weekend to try and lift that prestigious trophy. Cooper, Paul Cooper, will do battle in this race along with James Dobb on that 500 KTM once again, that 4-stroke. So 40 riders on the line. It's all about second place. There's Bolle. You can see a plastered up nose. This is going to be very painful for the young man. The new World Tour champion. He regained his championship from last year. He did it in Luxembourg. Heat 3 then, 250 in open class. Some of these riders will be on 250s, some will be on 500s, 2-strokes, 426 4-strokes. Here they go into that first corner. It's a bit of carnage going down into already, but I think they've all survived it through. That looks like Bartolini's got the lead. Carmichael is there behind him. There's Hughes. So the Americans at the moment well placed to take this. Only real disaster will prevent the Americans from lifting the trophy again since 1996. They did it then. The team consisted of Emig, McGrath and Lanson. Let's have another look at that start. Well, look at Andre Bartolini leaning all over Frederick Bolle and then carving up Ricky Carmichael. So, and look at Dobb around the outside. James Dobb, Bevorts on the inside of him, then Carmichael. And Dobby giving Bevorts a bit of a push going out the corner. Carmichael then from Bartolini, from Bevorts, top 3. Then it's Darrell King, James Dobb and Paul Cooper. So the Brits looking good at the moment for a possible second place on the podium. So there is Marnik Bevorts. Around the outside of him goes the French rider, Sebastian Tortelli, number 5. And Tortelli trying to hold his head up here at the moment. His nation, who are hosting this Motocross of Nations this year, and what a fantastic job they've done of it. The circuit here is incredible. There'll be a triple header here next year. I'm looking forward to it. They've done so much work. This is an example of what motocross circuit should be like, believe you me. Very few can equal this around the country. Oh, Bevorts there loses out to Tortelli. Tortelli passes him. Bevorts very nearly dumps it on the floor. Let's have a look at it again. Well, Tortelli got himself into trouble and Bevorts followed suit. Somewhat in sympathy maybe, probably not. So Belgium trying to claw their way back up the field. Italy trying to hang on to that second place. The man behind him at the moment is Sebastian Tortelli, the Frenchman, and he's going to go past the Italian if he can. There is Bolle, and I think he's going to retire. I'm not sure. He's cruising around, so the pain from that broken nose just too much for the world champion. And one must have sympathy for him because he won the world championship. He has gone out. That broken nose has taken its toll. He picked up in race 1. You can understand and sympathise with Frederic Bolle, the world champion. However, his teammate here, Sebastian Tortelli, second place, chasing the American, number 11, Ricky Carmichael. That is Bartolini there, number 3, Andre Bartolini, the Italians who will host next year's Motocross to Nations. They're having a storming ride. Bartolini. But keep an eye out for the Belgian riders. Bavorts is there as well. And Smets is on a bit of a charge despite the problems that he has. But there is Sebastian Tortelli being pushed by the number 3 bike of Andre Bartolini, the former World 500cc motocross champion. Lost that number 1 plate this year to Belgium's Joel Smets. But showing that he can still ride with the best of them despite that. On the 250. Bartolini. Another man that has made the change to 400cc, or the 4-stroke cc, we should say. There's Carmichael. There's Tortelli behind him. So the crowd here, as you would look at Carmichael, looking across, he knows who's coming. He knows he's got a Frenchman behind him because he can see the reaction of the crowd. They're going absolutely start raving crazy. Look at this. 60,000 plus people are packed in here despite the problems in France at the moment with a shortage of fuel and the roadblocks. People have got here somehow to witness this superb event, the Motocross to Nations 2000, first one of the millennium. Ricky Carmichael from America leads Sebastian Tortelli from France, and Tortelli, I think, in his own mind has decided that, okay, we're not going to win the Nations, but hell, I'm going to win the last race of the day. And these two have been banging handlebars and elbows all year in America, and they're at it again. Look at this. Tortelli, the bigger of the two men. Carmichael looks back and says, okay. Yeah, it's only a race. But the Americans on course, I think, to regain the Motocross to Nations trophy. France are going to finish outside the top 3, but Tortelli comes through, and look at Carmichael. Well, it's my turn, he says. I might be the smaller of the two, but I can give as good as I get. Whacks Sebastian Tortelli, but that won't stop the Frenchman. Tough as nails, both these lads, but look at the man in 3rd place. Italian Andre Bartolini closing up. Bavorts is back there in 4th, Hughes is 5th, Paul Cooper from Great Britain back there in 6th place. James Dobb had a storming start in this race, but he's dropping down the order. So Great Britain were in a 3rd position place going into this race, but look at Seb Tortelli going after Carmichael. Well, you can see there the lap time's changing because Tortelli is quicker. And here he goes, he has another look up the inside. The crowd go banzai. Tortelli, I think this time has made it stick. Great Britain still hanging on to 3rd place. Italy up to 2nd. Belgium 4th. South Africa 5th. And Seb Tortelli has definitely decided he's going to give his home crowd something to cheer about. They ain't going to win the trophy, but hell, he's going to win the adulation of the crowd. Carmichael will no doubt have been given a message on his pit board to say, let him go, 2nd is good enough. The Americans came here to win back this trophy that they've had so many times in the past. So dominant the Americans were until the British beat them. Italy won it last year. France were looking to win it this year. They had a strong squad. Tortelli, Bolle, Roncada, but it all went sadly wrong for Bolle in race 1. As we've seen him go out of this race, that broken nose has just taken its toll. So commiserations for Bolle, commiserations for France. But the crowd here are certainly being given a display of dogged determination by Seb Tortelli, their number 1 man, here in this final race here at Saint-Jean d'Angely here in France, this Motocross of Nations 2000. Frederici down there in 14th place, James Dobb 15th, Andrew McFarlane from Australia, who won one of the first race of the Oakley 500 Grand Prix this year. Australia will host a triple header next year, right after Brazil. The Motocross of Nations will go to Italy next year, and if it's anywhere half as good as it's been here today, it will be a great Motocross of Nations. The French have put on a fine show. The circuit here at Saint-Jean, superbly prepared. No doubt we'll see more top-class world motocross at this circuit next year and the year after. So Seb Tortelli leads the American number 11, Ricky Carmichael, 5 from 11 in. France from America, 8.5 minutes remaining. Tortelli, to the delight of the home fans, doing what he does best, and that's win. Bartolini is still third, Bevorts, Hughes is still fifth, Cooper is still in sixth place. But for Great Britain, Albertine is seventh, Coppins, Crockard for Ireland, Asuta for Japan. Smets is moving, Smets is on the move, he's passed Dodd. This could change the position for third place. There's Bartolini for Italy. Now, if Bevorts stays where he is, if Smets can get a little bit higher, that means Belgium could sneak into third place from outside the top 6 coming into this race. It gives you some idea how dogged the determination is of Smets. Paul Cooper, originally from South Africa, former British Open class champion, finished I think 6th or 7th in the world standings in the 250 class this year. He'll be riding Yamahas in the year 2001. This is Husqvarna Dizon, and Paul Cooper has had a creditable ride here for his country, Great Britain, in this Motocross of Nations. So has James Dobb, but Cooper has had some storming results. I tend to think that his fellow teammate in this race, James Dobb, his energy is now gone. That 500 bike is tearing him to pieces. There he is, 15th place, 6th place, 21 points then they'll score, and I don't think that's going to be enough to keep them in third position, or I should say too many. Tortelli, Carmichael, Bartolini, Bevorts, Hughes and Cooper. So no change there. Albertine, Crockard, Coppins and Asuta. Smets is 11th, Daryl King up to 12th place. But Paul Cooper here, well, you can't call him South African because he rides on an ACU British licence, but he hails from South Africa, did most of his racing there in South Africa, but now considers himself as much a Brit. There's a fellow racer that he actually used to race against in his South African racing career, Greg Albertine, number 68. And Albertine here would have so much liked to have finished in the top 3 in his last ever competitive ride in his career. He's got a couple of things to do in America before he finally hangs up those motocross boots, but Albertine has had an illustrious career and is, without a doubt, the greatest rider to hail from the shores of South Africa. So we'll bid farewell to Greg at the end of this. Wish him well in the future. But there's a lot of fresh talent coming out of SA at the moment. Albertine was one of the first. Langston is now the new boy. There's Crockard, number 80. Gordon Crockard, 2 250 Grand Prix wins this year for the Irishman on a privateer machine. Gordon Crockard with his teammate Adam Lyons representing Ireland. Lives in Northern Ireland, so you might think that he would ride for Great Britain, but no, he's an Irishman. So the USA there, Italy, Great Britain hanging on 45 points, Belgium 46 points, so Smets moves up one more place. That will be level pegging with Great Britain. If Dodd drops down a place, that will put Belgium up in the third spot. So it's going to be bad news for Great Britain. Look at this, Albertine, the outgoing former 125 250 champion, up against the new boy on the block, Crockstar, Gordon Crockard from Northern Ireland, has absolutely electrified the 250 scene this year. No one really expected him to do it, but Crocstar went to Spain in the opening Grand Prix and won the second race. Sorry, the first race, because it was Ryan Hughes, of course, that won the second race, the American. But Crocstar took the overall result. So that's the one young man that you should look out for in the future. Gordon Crockard, staying with the CAS team that he rode with this year. For next year, still a privateer, not factory supported, doesn't get all the bits and pieces that all the other factory riders get, but he's proved that no matter what, dogged determination can still take a privateer to an overall position in a Grand Prix. So Crockard still chasing Greg Albertine, the great South African rider. As we look down the order, Sepelak, Jasinski, Eckenbach, Reed from New Zealand. The Japanese rider still in there, Kadlacek. There's Ryan Hunt, that's teammate to 68, Albertine in this race. And Ryan, in his own right, a top-class rider. There is Hughes, Ryan Hughes, drafted into the squad, the American squad at the last moment. They called him the weakling, but Ryan has proved, Rhino has said, I'm not weak in any way whatsoever, and he's done his bit to put America back on top as far as the World Motocross Champions are concerned, the nation's champions. America will take home that trophy once again. Ryan Hughes there, his wife Jennifer and his young son will be here with him watching this. Evander, his young son, will no doubt be watching his dad do the business. And a very likeable character, Ryan the American, is Ryan Hughes. He broke his wrist early part of the season. He doggedly kept trying to ride with a broken skateboard in his wrist, and in the end he just had to concede. That was at Spa in Belgium when he decided enough was enough. He went back to America to have it operated on, but he's come back to ride the last couple of Grand Prix. And here at the Donations, as I said, they brought him in, considered him to be the weak link, but he's proved to be the complete opposite. Number 2, Claudio Frederici, the Italian. 13th place, I think, for Claudio at the moment on the 250. And his teammate Andre Bartolini, number 3, up there in 3rd place. So Italy looking good for 2nd place on the rostrum. The overall result, they take the nations next year. They'll be the hosting nation, as we should say. A good result here is imperative for them. The current holders of the Donations Cup until the end of this race at least, when they'll hand it across to the Americans. They came here with a strong squad, that was for sure. So Tutelli, Carmichael, Bartolini, Bevorts, Hughes and Cooper. Top 6, 11 laps gone. Albertine, Crockard, Coppins, Smets is up to 10th place, and that spells disaster for Great Britain, because that's the last thing we wanted to happen. This will mean that Great Britain are pushed down, I think, into 4th place. Belgium will be up into 3rd from outside the top 6 coming into this race, and it's all down to that man there, Monique Bevorts, who's currently in 4th place. And don't forget the one that's behind him at the moment on the 500 KTM, Joel Smets, came here with that injured arm and has, as always, proved that his nickname fits. The Flemish Lion. Heart like a lion, man of steel. Smets, 10th place for Smets, 4th place for Bevorts. Combined score of 14 points should be enough to give them 3rd step on the rostrum at this year's Donations. We'll wait and see. For England, it's going to be 4th. Smets has done the deed, 10th place for Joel. Monique Bevorts here hanging on to that 4th spot. So the 2 riders from Belgium that have banked handlebars all year, incidentally, in the 500 class. Monique, of course, riding the 426 Yamaha. Smets on his familiar 520 KTM. They finished 1st and 2nd in the standings at the end of the year. And for Monique Bevorts, as I said before, a former top notable 250 motocross rider, finished 2nd several times in the World 250 Series, decided to change up to 500s for this year, the open class, and certainly has made the right decision. Finishing 2nd. Can he win it next year? That's the question that everybody will be asking. Can he beat Smets next year? We'll wait and see. Apparently staying with the Team Rinaldi squad for 2001 with team manager Michele Rinaldi. Here is the Italian then, Andrea Bartolini. Well, they came here with a chance of retaining the Nations Cup, and in recent years only the Americans have been able to do that, but a stronger squad from America have just pipped them to it. So much would they like to have gone to Italy next year to host the Nations as the current champions. It's not going to be, but they're still going to finish second on the podium, which isn't such a bad result after all. Daryl King from New Zealand down in 12th place. The two King brothers, of course Shane and Daryl riding here, and Josh Coppins for New Zealand. So Shane back up from America, we'll be riding in Grand Prix again next year, European Grand Prix. It'd be nice to have him back, former World 500cc motocross champion Shane King. Daryl, of course, with Husqvarna this year, but this is the man that the Italians that have turned up here will be cheering for. Andrea Bartolini, Max Spark to his friends. Very likeable, very pleasant man. 2 laps to go then, 2 laps before the crowns are placed on the heads of the respective teams, and America at the moment are certainly going to get the biggest one of the three. They are going to be 2000 Motocross Nations winners, and Ricky Carmichael, who's currently second in this race, will be ecstatic with that, because twice before he was on the losing side, last year and the year before that. And Carmichael will be saying, just, I hope everything keeps going now to the end. There you are, Great Britain is still desperately hanging on to that 3rd place. Equal now with Belgium, so Smets can move up to 9th, or if Cooper drops back a place, or if James Dobb drops back a place, then it's all going to change. They will get that 3rd spot. And the way things are shaping up at the moment, my predictions are going to come true. Great Britain are going to drop 1 place, which will be a crying shame, but it's going to happen on the dying stages of this race. So as we wait now, there is the Frenchman, Sébastien Tortelli, who has given the French crowd something here today to cheer about. He's the leader of the last race, the 3rd race. He will certainly leave the circuit here today with his head held very high. And the French crowd will no doubt appreciate the effort that he's put in to winning this final race. Carmichael knew he didn't have to win it. He would have been told, his pit bull would have said, let him go. He can have the win if he wants it. 14 seconds then between Tortelli and Carmichael the American. It makes no jot whatsoever. America are going to walk away as the nation's champions. France are not going to finish in the top 3. There you are, Tortelli, Carmichael, Bartolini, Bevort, Hughes and Albertine. Albie's on the move. Crockard, Cooper down to 8th. Smets has gone to 9th. This is terrible news for Great Britain. As we forecasted, Smets has put his head down, can see that 3rd step, and I think Belgium are safely now in 3rd place. There is Carmichael. He's done what he needed to do. The short, stocky American, ridden his heart out. There you are, that's the confirmation. Belgium have done it. 44 points. Great Britain drop to 47. But look at Japan in the top 6. We've never seen that before. As I've said earlier, we will start to see Japanese riders on the world motocross scene. Before much longer, we see them in Superbike, we see them in MotoGP, particularly in the 125 classes. It won't be long before we start to see them in motocross. It doesn't take the Japanese long to get the hang of something. Cooper 8th, Smets 9th. Well, that's what made the difference for the UK. That's the difference in 1 step, being 3rd or 4th. James Dobb hangs on to 15th place. Andrew McFarlane, the Aussie, still in there. McFarlane coming over to race in European Grand Prix next year. No doubt he'll take him a while to settle down, but he's certainly set the scene alight in the first 500 Grand Prix in Australia at Broadfield. Oh, Carmichael almost making a mistake there. Those arms are getting tired. Those legs are beginning to hurt a little now. And the young man there looking across. This is it. He knows that if he just stays where he is, he's going to be the Motocross Donations champion. One of 3 men from America this year. Ryan Hughes, Travis Pastrana, and this man Ricky Carmichael. Well, that's actually Tortelli. There is Carmichael, number 11. Second place still for the American. He doesn't need to do any more. USA, the stars and stripes. The trophy is going to once again disappear across the big pond to America. Tortelli, Carmichael, Bartolini, Bavorts, Hughes, Albertine, Crockard, Cooper, Smet still 9th, Darrell King, Josh Coppins, Japanese rider Usata in 12th place. Here comes the checkered flag. It's going to be Seb Tortelli that takes it for France. He finishes the Motocross Nations star, but Carmichael doesn't care. Second's good enough. Hughes is going to come through in 5th place. It's America that's going to take the 2000 Nations Cup. Tortelli celebrates. The crowd have gone wild, and so you'd expect them to. So there you go. The USA 19 points. Italy, Belgium have beaten Great Britain to the 3rd step. South Africa, look at Japan. 6th place. Australia 7th. Finland, the Czech Republic, Germany, Ireland, Spain, Austria, and Portugal. Great ride from Ireland. Gordon Crockard, Adam Lyons and Trevor Cubitt. Well, and look at France, 18th place, 20. Oh, it's just desperate luck for them. They were tipped to take it this year, had a very strong team, but it wasn't enough. Here's Pascal on the podium with the winner there of the last race of the 2000 Nations, Sebastian Tortelli.
Sebastian, you did a very great last race here.
Yeah, you know, I gave everything I had to win that race. You know, that was very important for me. You know, I would like to win one moto at least for the French nation, and I did everything. That was a great fight.
Clearly upset about the result. I think he was in tears then, but he still put a great ride in. So USA take the top step. Italy takes step 2. Belgium takes step 3. For the Americans and these young men, that being one of them, of course, the youngest of the group, Travis Pastrani, number 10 on the 125. His other 2 mates, Ricky Carmichael there on in number 11, Kawasaki, the 250 bike. He won one race, he finished 2nd in the other, but it was enough. And for Ryan Hughes, the GP regular on the 250, he did enough to support his 2 teammates, and America are going to take the Nations Cup back to where it's been 13 times before. And I think they deserve it. Roger DeCosta, the team manager, a great rider in his own time. Happy with that trophy back in his hand once again for America. Question is, can they keep it for next year? We'll have to wait and see. I'm sure Belgium and Italy will have something to say about that. But the French will be back in force in 2001. But it's not all over yet. Oh no, the Americans have got the cup. Well, after all the excitement of the Motocross Nations, Action Group International hosted a presentation dinner here to award the top 3 their trophies. So first up on the stage, the 125 World Champion, Grant Langston, and Giuseppe Longo from Action Group to present the trophy. And in the 250 class, once again, Bolle retains his #1 place.
To throw on and go on, you know what that's to flow on. Select us on your radio players, cause we're friendly for ozone. But that's not also hold on. Tight as a rock the mic, right? Oh, excuse me, pardon, that's a synchronizer with the analyzer. Upcoming wipes the session. Let there be a less impression. You carry protection, now with your heart go on like Celine Dion. Come a chameleon, yeah, straight from the top of the dome. As a rock the microphone. Yeah, straight from the top of the dome. As a rock the microphone.
And for the 500 class, once again, Belgium's Joel Smets is #1. Well, there you are, your top 3 in the world, 125, 250 and 500. But of course, here in France, you can't finish anything without the can-can. And we had the can-can girls here to give us a treat or two. And believe you me, we thoroughly enjoyed it.